Today's review and rating will be based upon the Ravenwing Apothecary from the Dark Angels 9th edition supplement. So hello Dark Angels players and welcome to Planet 40k. Random shout out of the video goes to Sayanathaf Azam for the comment they made in regards to the Dark Angels content. So you want Dark Angels content, you're going to get Dark Angels content, so shout out to you. On to the topic for today, which is the Ravenwing Apothecary. So as we all know, in this edition, apothecaries are extremely overpowered with the abilities they have. This is your Ravenwing variant of an apothecary, so let's begin with the datasheet. So the model's costing you 5 power level or 100 points on the nose. He comes in the elite area of the Codex, so quite like the standard apothecary. He's got the following keywords of note. Of course, he's got the Dark Angels keyword. He's a character, a biker, an apothecary. He's a part of the inner circle, and he's a Ravenwing. So these interact with abilities as well as stratagems, which we'll go over shortly. As for the actual stats of the model, it's got movement of 14 inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 5, attacks 3, leadership 8, and a 3+ save. So an extra point in toughness and wounds over a non-biked apothecary, as well as that extra 8 inch movement, so it keeps him up with his other biker friends. As for the abilities, there's tons here, so bear with me with this. Angels of Death, we all know what that is. We'll mention anything linked to this throughout the video. All Dark Angel units have the chapter tactic Grim Resolve, which allows the unit to fire at a +1 to the hit rolls for range attacks if they remain stationary, which probably won't happen because it's on a bike. But they also auto pass combat attrition tests, which again probably won't happen because it's one single model in the unit. However, it is important that it's got this ability because it leads on to the next ability, which is the Inner Circle ability. So units that have the Grim Resolve ability auto pass morale, not that important here, but they also cannot fall back away from units that have the Fallen keyword. Quite rare that's going to happen. They can also fall back without issue as they've got the Ravenwing keyword, whereas other units in the supplement have got to roll 2 dice and see their leadership roll. But the main part here is they cannot be wounded on less than a 4+. That virtually is having transhuman physiology placed on them at all times. So as he's a Ravenwing model, has got access to 2 other abilities. Firstly, the Ravenwing models get Jink. So models in this unit have a 5+ invuln save against range attacks in the movement phase. If they remain stationary, they're going to lose that invuln save. And if you advance with the model, it goes up to a 4+ invuln save. So along with not being able to be wounded on less than a 4+, you're getting a 5+ minimum invuln save, which is crazy good. Also, they've got the super doctrine that relates to being a Ravenwing model, which is Sons of the Lion. They're going to get the speed of the Raven, which is +3 to the movement characteristics of Ravenwing models in the Devastator doctrine. And also in that doctrine, Ravenwing units are eligible to shoot in the turn that they advanced, and they're going to suffer a -1 to hit as if it was an assault weapon. So now they're actually moving at 17 inches during turn 1, and they can advance and still fire at a -1 to hit penalty, which makes them extremely quick. To further that, they've got turbo boost, which is when you advance, you don't have to roll for it, it's just a 6-inch movement for the advance roll. So as just mentioned, in turn 1 when you're advancing, you can still be firing, and you can go up to 23 inches in total as well. They've then got the command squad ability, so for each Ravenwing Black Knight unit that is included in the detachment, you can include 1 Ravenwing Apothecary unit without taking up a battlefield role. So nice and easy combination which saves up on the elite slots, and we haven't even begun with the apothecary abilities yet, so it's got combat restoratives. So done in the movement phase, you can get an infantry model or a biker model with the Dark Angels keyword, and they're going to regain up to D3 lost wounds, which is pretty big on bikes because they've got 3 wounds apiece. Then finally, Narthesium, which is an aura for all Dark Angels infantry or Dark Angels biker units within 3 inches of the model. Each time the model in the unit loses a wound, you roll a d6, and on a 6, the wound is not lost. So that's just icing on the cake after the invuln save and the Inner Circle ability. Now the supplement actually says 6 inches, but this was FAQ'd in March, it's now only a 3-inch aura. So all in all, incredibly tough to remove Ravenwing models in general that are within the Inner Circle. Of course, to add further to this, he's a character, so he's going to be benefiting from the Lookout Sir ability, so he's going to likely be within a squadron of bikes, so he's not going to be getting picked off early unless it's sniper attacks. Be sure to block off any gaps that allow for a melee attack on your apothecary to keep him closed off. So that's a crazy amount of abilities to keep up with. That was quite a bunch of them. Let's move away from that and look at some of the Wargear. So apothecaries aren't really known for their damage output in the game, but we'll see how he fares anyway. So the Ravenwing Apothecary is equipped with an Astartes grenade launcher, a bolt pistol, a frag grenade and crack grenade. So as always, I'll display the bolt pistol and the 2 grenades for you now. You're not really going to be using them. But as for the Astartes grenade launcher, it's got 2 different profiles. You've got the frag grenade and the crack grenade, both a 30-inch range. The frag grenade is assault d6, strength 3, no AP 1 damage with the blast keyword. Then the crack grenade is assault 1, strength 6, minus 1 AP and d3 damage. So it's pretty much like the actual grenades except you've got a 30-inch range with them. So it's not a terrible weapon for your support characters to hold really. The frag obviously is going to be targeting weaker units and hordes, so maybe guardians perhaps. The crack grenade can potentially remove a more elite troop model, could even get lucky and remove a Terminator model, although the odds aren't really in your favour. So if you don't want this weapon, you can trade it out freely for a plasma talon. This has also got 2 profiles, quite like any other plasma weapon in the 40k game. You can fire it with the standard profile or the supercharged profile, both at 18-inch range, both assault 2. The standard profile is strength 7 minus 3 AP 1 damage, and the supercharged profile is strength 8 minus 3 AP and 2 damage, but if you supercharge and you roll a 1 to hit, the bearer is dead. Big risk there. So it's not rapid fire like most plasma guns, it's an assault weapon, meaning you can advance with it and still fire at a -1 to hit penalty. You get the 2 guaranteed shots with it rather than 2 at only half range. Now the range is only 18-inch range, but it's not that big of a deal because you're on a bike and you're moving quite rapidly anyway, as mentioned already. And plasma guns usually require you to be within 12 inches to get 2 shots, whereas this is 18 inches. Supercharging for me is a big no-no for me with this kind of unit. Not on a 100-point model, that's especially so important to your list. On that basis, I'd prefer the grenade launcher over the plasma talon. Now both weapons have access to a stratagem, which I'll cover in the stratagem section of the video. In fact, now probably is a good time to jump into stratagems. So firstly we'll go over the Space Marine Codex stratagems. There's some that he's got access to that won't really need mentioning, but the ones that are worth a mention are skilled riders for 1 CP, used in your opponent's shooting phase. You put it on your biker and it's going to be a -1 to hit them. It's only really useful once the lookout sir has vanished, or against snipers perhaps. Combat revival for 1 CP, this is a big one. Used in your own movement phase on your apothecary. You can get an infantry or a biker back if the unit is within 3 inches. So this one's crazy good for your apothecary. Bringing back 1 Black Knight, or any of 1 bike really, from a unit is really huge. And you're doing it every turn for just 1 CP. Relic of the chapter. Now as he's a character you can hold relics, which I'll go over some of the potential relics in a bit, but for this stratagem it's 1 command point and you can simply put one of the relics on him. The same sort of applies with hero of the chapter, that's 1 command point, and you can put an extra warlord trait in the army, so one of them could be on your apothecary as he's a character. They're from the Marine Codex. As for the actual supplement itself, you've got full throttle, which can cost you 1 command point, done in your movement phase. For any Ravenwing unit that advances, you can immediately make another normal move up to 12 inches, but it's not eligible to shoot or declare a charge. It's only really useful if it needs to help a different unit, as the unit is currently with probably won't be able to keep up if you're doing things like that. Swift Strike, which is 2 command points for a single model, used in the fight phase. After a Ravenwing unit has fought, he can fall back as if it was the movement phase and make a normal move. Probably not as useful on this unit as he shouldn't be charging, but maybe in the second round of combat, when he's already fought, he can swing and then get out of dodge. Status Shell for 2 command points, used with the Ravenwing model that's got the Stardy's grenade launcher. The model can make only 1 attack with the weapon this phase, and if a hit is scored, the target is not allowed to fall back, unless it's a vehicle or a monster. So this is a very tactical stratagem to catch those units out that don't want to fight, or trying to fall back and recharge. So units that come to mind that can do this are Necron Wraiths, for example. They can fall back and recharge to ensure they fight first, but with this stratagem they can't. It's quite expensive though for 2 command points. Then they've got Weapons from the Dark Age, which is another 2 command point stratagem, using the shooting phase, and you're going to basically add 1 damage to all plasma weapons in the unit. Now this makes the Plasma Talon a damage 2 weapon, but it's 2 command points for 1 model. It's probably not worth it on an apothecary. The final one is Paragon of the Chapter. It's 1 command point, used on a Dark Angel character model that is not a named character to be a warlord, so you're going to generate 1 additional warlord trait for them. So if your apothecary was your warlord for whatever reason, he can have 2 warlord traits. So that's the stratagems done and dusted. Let's look at some of those relic options. You've got the Reliquary of the Repentant, used with a Ravenwing biker model only. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of the bearer, each time an invuln saving throw is made for that model of a 4+ or better, it's going to be modified to a 5+. So this really puts a spanner in the works for, say, Iron Halo saves, or maybe those Death Guard Terminator invuln saves, making them go down to a 5+ invuln. Then you've got Eye of the Unseen. The bearer gains the following ability, which is an aura called Fear. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, you subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics of the model in the unit. Can be handy in some occasions, not all of them. But at the start of the fight phase, if an enemy character model is within engagement range of the bearer, the unit is not eligible to fight until all other eligible units in your army have done so. So the first point, like I said, is a bit so-so, but the second point could be massive, especially those Smash Captain type models with a bazillion attacks. Interestingly, your apothecary has the apothecary keyword, so it can be made into a chief apothecary for 15 points. So this allows him to use combat restoratives twice, not once per phase. So you're healing up 2 different units there. He He also gains access to a relic and a new warlord trait. So the relic is the acquittal, which replaces his bolt pistol for an 18-inch pistol that is strength 5, minus 3 AP and 2 damage. And against infantry models you always wound on 2s and has a damage characteristic of a 4. So it's not actually a bad pistol if I'm honest, it could be worth it, especially with that damage 4. Even Death Guard Terminators are not going to like that if you get through. The actual Warlord trait is Selfless Healer. Each time the Warlord uses Combat Restorative's ability, you can heal 3 lost wounds instead of D3, which could be really helpful. Not only that, each time you're using the Combat Revival stratagem, the stratagem is going to cost you no command points. So you pay the 1 command point for the extra Warlord trait, and take this every time in my opinion. Okay, you lose that command point, but you're going to gain 1 back virtually every turn because you're going to use this every turn. That's the reason your apothecary is there, he's bringing back models. So that's all his bits and bobs he can take, quite a lot to get through there. Tactically speaking, really, he's just going with your bikers, whether it's your tap bikes, your bike, even your outriders, your chaplains on a bike, Primaris captains on a bike. There's loads of bike units you've got at your disposal. Even the ATV invader bikes. Okay, the stratagem won't work on them with combat revival, but the other 2 abilities, Narthesium and combat restoratives, they will work on the ATV bikes. As long as he's with at least one of those said units, he's going to be healing that unit up. 2's obviously more ideal. I just wouldn't get too close. You don't want your apothecary in melee. So let's get on with the summary. Starting off with the good, there's loads of good here. He's quick, he can heal wounds, he provides a feel no pain save, he brings a biker back each turn with combat restoratives that potentially could be free. He doesn't take up an elite slot with the Black Knights in the list. He's got access to the Chief Apothecary abilities. He's got access to relics, access to warlord traits. As for the bad, what bad? There's not really much bad. I mean, he's got no real damage output perhaps. I mean, he's a support character, so that's not really his job, and even then he's got a ranged weapon that does a little bit of damage throughout the course of the game. Maybe something else to add to the bad though, that is no actual inbuilt in-run save while remaining stationary. Of course if you do move you've got the Jink ability, so that's some sort of save. You could get sniped off if you've got snipers on the board. I mean, I play Necron, so if I had my 10 death marks on the board I'll be targeting the apothecary straight away, hopefully before he's even moved turn 1. So looking at the rating, this one's an easy one guys, it's a 5 out of 5 from me. Apothecaries in this edition are already overpowered, but putting them on a bike as well with an extra bit of toughness and an extra wound, that's just crazy. Then making them really tough to get rid of as well. Guys, drop a like and sub if you are new if you enjoyed the video. Hopefully more Dark Angels players can join our community here at Planet 40k. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you in the next one.